welcome to LongShots TV. I'm your host, Tony the Rhino, and alongside me once again is Donnie Rightside. Welcome in, Donnie. How you doing tonight, brother?
Doing good, man. Arctic tundra freezing across this country, but we're going to heat it up tonight, Tony, with some football talk.
Yeah, we do apologize to our viewers. We've been on hiatus for a few weeks here. We've had a few technical difficulties, and we're back on, and we're getting ready to kick it. College football bowl season. What could be better, Donnie?
Not too much. I mean, if you look to make some money, you definitely want to be careful in the plays that you select there. If you like something, fire away. But, hey, take a lot of these games as enjoyment. They don't mean much to a lot of these teams. But if you could find an angle on one of these games, definitely going to be to your advantage.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking earlier about running down a few of these bowl games, just kind of touching base on it. If you guys do have any questions, please feel free to jump in on the chat, ask a question about a particular bowl game, whatever that might be. If you're looking at something that, your team maybe, and you need a few answers, we'll be glad to answer those questions if we can. All right, Donnie, tomorrow we've got, 5 bowl games, starting at 2 o'clock and then all the way up to finishing at 9 o'clock, Southern Mississippi at University of Lafayette. I do have 2 picks on these games, sides and totals. But, Donnie, I understand you don't have any wagers on these games tomorrow.
No, I probably won't have. I have 2 games selected in the next coming week that we did fire on premium action. I mean, as the day goes on, depending on some things change, maybe some weather conditions or maybe some late injury info, we'll probably look into one of these games. But I have some good leans on these that I'm thinking right now. So I'd be more than happy to go over these games and see if we can pick the listeners out something that they can win some money on.
Awesome. Well, let's do it. Jump right in. Which game do you want to talk about first?
Start right at the beginning there. UTSA, New Mexico, I think is a decent one to start out. 2 o'clock is going to get the bowl season technically ticked off there. New Mexico, one of the teams I've bet for and against quite a bit this year. Really good football team running the ball. Looks like there's going to be some win conditions there, but also an ulterior motive here. New Mexico is the home team in this game, and they're playing on their home field. So it's going to be a definitely added advantage. The one thing that you don't want to look past is UTSA is a really good football team in their own right, but they're going to be really excited to be in a bowl game here. 7.5 seems about that correct number to be on. I think they're asking you to put your money on Texas San Antonio in this one. I would lean more towards New Mexico since they are the home team. They're going to be getting back their leading rusher for the football game. I lean towards New Mexico in this one, Tony. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I do too. And let me give you just a couple of I've been researching a few of the guys that do this. Michael Roberts is a former Vegas bookmaker, and he actually likes this total at 7.5 even. Was saying that New Mexico's all season the Roadrunners are going to have some trouble defending it like everyone else. Lobos were number 1 in the nation at 360 yards per game on the ground, and they're playing a home field, like you said. So there's an advantage there. Also, Emory Hunt likes New Mexico as well. So, guys, there's a good game to start with if all predictions are right. But again, keep in mind this is bowl games. New Mexico should be the play.
Yeah, I mean, I would lean towards that way. Home team, send everybody out on a bang, and they've only been getting better, New Mexico, as the season's going on. They've had some nice wins under their belt already. Blew out Wyoming in a game, or it was questionable how Wyoming was going to show up in that one anyway, just for the fact they already had the Mountain West Championship wrapped up heading off to the championship game. But they have had some nice games early in the season, especially with a nice neutral field win over Air Force. So they have stepped up to their competition, got beat up a little bit by Boise State, which most teams have. But as the season has progressed outside of the Colorado State game, which Colorado State is playing some really good football this time, they're a pretty good football team.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's jump over to Houston and San Diego State. I know a lot of people, including you down here, really interested in this game. I think it should be a really good game. I think it's going to be a tight game. If I had to take a side in this one, I'd probably take San Diego State plus the points. I just think that this is a situation where, that it's just, like I said, it's going to be a tight game. So I look for San Diego State to cover that. I do think Houston wins the game, but no more than a field goal.
Yeah, San Diego State's going to be real excited to be in this football game. One of the interesting things that you want to take a look at is if Donnell Pumphrey is going to be able to set that all-time NCAA record. You know
Exactly.
they're going to feed him the ball, but again, that's not one of those charity cases saying, ooh, let's, give him the football. I mean, he's a really good football player, top 3 running back overall in the country. So feeding him the football even more than maybe he usually gets, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The one
Right.
thing I would have liked to see better here, Tony, is if Houston went in a different direction with their head coaching choice. They kept it
Yeah.
in-house, so that camaraderie is still going to be there. And they have a very good defense, as you've seen throughout the season. They played very well and locked up a very good Louisville team at home. They had their struggles in a couple games this year with Navy, but in this overall game, Houston, there's no question about the talent is there. Ed Oliver, the all-American freshman on the D-line, they shut down some pretty good running backs here. Motivation may be a factor, but since they kept Applewhite in-house, and I do agree with the movement in the line with Houston opening up around a 3-point favorite now up to 4.5. To me, myself, I would lean Houston here just because I think overall more talented and there's going to be a little bit more of a camaraderie. You're not going to be, head coach is out of town, so, we're just going to do whatever we want to do. It doesn't matter anyway. It's an interesting game, but I will sit back and enjoy that one because it's 2 football games and probably the best bowl game of the day tomorrow, no question about it.
Yeah. How many yards does he need? Like 100?
I think it's only a little bit over 100 yards. It's not anything
108.
outlandish where he's got to get like 240. So he should
Right.
just play his normal game regardless of how good Houston's defense is. He's going to get 25 touches.
Awesome. Okay, let's jump down there to Central Florida versus Arkansas State. This is another game that I think is going to be close. I would take the points here in Arkansas State. What's your thoughts on that, Donnie?
I've been a big fan all year long of the way Central Florida plays football. Good defense. I like the quarterback. He's mobile, good running game. But anything that's built on really good defense, I'm always going to be a champion of, especially when you don't have to cover more than a touchdown. Arkansas State, again, this is another one of those games. UCF is not a perennial bowl team, championship contender. They have been on the upswing over the past couple of years. I mean, obviously you would agree, but Arkansas State's going to be very excited to be at this bowl game, but so is UCF. And Arkansas State is going to take a level up in competition when, if you're just going to play in the Sun Belt Conference and just, smash football against the Troys of the world, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, UCF is playing a little bit different and higher caliber of competition. In this one, even though, again, it's hard, we always like to say take the points in these games. I just think UCF's a better overall football team, and 6 is not a huge wager. You're not looking at laying 14.5, 17.5, something outlandish. I would lean towards UCF and laying the points in this one.
Yeah, I just think that the Red Wolves defense has gotten a lot better as the season has gone on, is my take on that. That's the only reason I went that way. Okay, well, let's jump down to App State versus Toledo. This is a game I know I'm going to be watching. I was on Appalachian State quite a few times this season, and they really came through. Good football team, but they're playing a good football team in Toledo. What do you think, Donnie?
Yeah, I mean, App State, again, one of those premier programs in the lower level. I mean, it all started back, everybody saw, maybe 10 years ago with their upset going on the road and beating Michigan. Their, lure and their tail has only grown since then. They played a really cool environment down there in Boone, North Carolina. It's a good overall program. They got their coming ups this year against Miami, but they did hang in and play and should have actually beaten Tennessee in the open of this past season. Old Dominion's a good football team. They beat them 31-7. Had a little bit of a lull, lost on the road at Troy, even though they had the lead late in the game. It's just a good football team. Looks like they ended the season winning 8 of 9 games. I would lean this way as well. I love the MAC conference. I love Toledo as a football team, but what this all comes down to is who can play the better defense. It's no question it's App State, and App State has a very good quarterback running back combination with Metters on the outside as a wide receiver. They're the complete package, even though I know Toledo has the firepower, can stay with them. Again, you're not looking to cover much. It's a pick 'em, the 1 point, depending either way, whichever book that you have on this one. I just would lean as well with App State. I just think they're overall the better football team there.
Yeah, and App State is a 7th-ranked scoring defense as well. But then again, Logan Woodside's no slouch. He's led the nation with 43 touchdown passes, so should be an explosive game, I think. But I think the edge has to go to App State. I agree, Donnie.
Yeah, and motivation on both sides is a factor here. Of course, the MAC team's going to be excited to be there. But again, App State, we're not looking at Miami, Florida going to, the MicronPC.com Bowl, Boise, with 2-degree weather. Like, these kids are genuinely excited, like a Super Bowl environment for both of them.
Right. I agree. Okay, well, let's jump over to Southern Mississippi at University of Lafayette. This is a game that I have a side and a total on. I think this is a very solid game for bettors if you're looking at it and looking into the to the numbers. Donnie, though, I'd be interested in hearing what your take is.
A little bit tricky. I mean, if earlier in the week, the line opens up with Southern Miss favored by about 3.5, or when bowl season actually made their picks. A day or two later, it did open up that way. And I do agree with the line movement going up, but it's kind of tricky where it's getting, in that dicey range. Because again, Southern Miss, UL Lafayette. EJ McGuire, who's been with Lafayette for 4 years and been their bell cow. It's his last game. It's going to be a send-off. They're going to give him the rock over and over again. They run a read option style offense, which can give Southern Miss a little bit of fits. I think Southern Miss overall is the better football team now that their quarterback, Nick Mullins, is back and healthy. Played very well in the last game versus Louisiana Tech in a blowout win over them. They struggled in the games previous, those three, because they were starting a redshirt freshman who just wasn't ready to, answer the bell and go out and play good football games. I think Southern Miss is going to win this football game. But the fact that it's from 3.5 all the way up to 6.5 and maybe even 7, if you see it out there on 5 dimes, that may skew the opinion a bit. But I do think the stronger side is Southern Miss here, so I would lean towards laying the points there in this one.
Right. Southern Miss lost 5 of its past 7, enters on a 1-7 against the spread skid. So something to take into consideration. I will give you guys a little bit of a lean on one of the picks that I had on this, just as a tidbit. You can take it or leave it. I am projecting 70 points in this game. All right. Yeah, all right. Let's see. Then Monday night, Monday afternoon, actually, got Central Michigan at Tulsa. Again, another game that I'm going to be watching real close, being a homie in Michigan here. I do not have a pick on this game, but Donnie, be interested to hear what you have to say about it.
Cooper Rush, great quarterback, as we've seen all year and throughout his career in the MAC. They just don't have enough to what Tulsa can bring to the table. The one thing that you struggle with in the MAC, these kids are going to give it all. They're well-coached football teams, and most of the time on offense, they have very good offenses, which Central Michigan does. Getting a couple running backs back into the equation for this bowl game that are completely healthy, have a couple good wideouts here. I would lean more towards the total, even though it sounds high at 70. Tulsa's going to run 100 miles an hour. And again, in a bowl game, the one thing you want to look at totals is if the game is one of these type of games. And what I mean by that is not a Final Four game, not a BCS style like Orange Bowl or a Rose Bowl where it's a little bit more prestigious, and as a coach and as a team and as an environment, you actually want to win the football game and play it like it really means something. Look at these games on like a Monday afternoon as it is with Tulsa, Central Michigan. Do you think they're going to be running the punt the football 4th and 2? Do you think they're not going to run fake, field goals, fake punts in this one? These are the games that you want to zero in on and take the overs because the pressure's off of both teams. They also just say, roll the helmets out there. Let's go have some fun. And again, what does it matter if it's 4th and 2 at midfield and you go for it and don't get it? There's no repercussions here. Have some fun, lay it out there. Tulsa's the perfect team to exploit a Central Michigan team that's not great on defense. And Central Michigan has a quarterback good enough to put up 28 to 31 points in this one. Lean towards the over in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you there, definitely. All right. Hey, Chris, nice to see you on. Memphis at Western Kentucky, Donnie, on Tuesday game. This one should be a wild one, too. I definitely think this is another one you could look very close to that over, even though the over is set at 79. Do you think they can break that total?
I think they can break that. I mean, look at Western Kentucky and the way they play football games all year long. Just look at the last, 5 games. They put up 52, 49, 45, 60, and 58 just by themselves. And you say, Memphis will show this or show resistance. Memphis is Western Michigan in the mirror. They're going to go up-tempo. They have great athletes. There's no reason, again, in a bowl game, nobody is punting in this football game. If it's 4th and 2 on your own 35, you might as well go for it because what's 40 yards going to do? That's 2 plays between both of these football teams. Take the over in this one as well. 48, 44, easily you could see that in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's going to be a fun game.
Yeah,
Let's jump all the way down, Donnie, to a game I know you and I both will be watching. Is the 8 o'clock game on Friday, Ohio versus Troy. What do you see in this game here?
Low scoring, Tony, to be honest with you. The one thing I actually like about this game is I've watching Ohio all year long. I always say this is a team that it's a shame that they never could get their quarterback situation together. Running Maxwell out there, Wyndham was on one leg. They lost their starting quarterback before the season even began. It was a shame because when you look at defenses, especially in the MAC, their front seven is incredible. 3 playmaking linebackers, 4 front line guys that can get after the quarterback. They do struggle on the back end against passing, but that's not what Troy's going to look to exploit. Troy is a very well-balanced team. Can they pass the ball? Yes, but they're built on the run. It's the one thing that Ohio can stop. Now, also, finally, Solich is going to wake up out of his casket and let Wyndham start the football game and actually have an offense that can be productive and move the football. When you saw Wyndham get in the game versus Western Michigan, they actually had a chance. They let the Maxwell kid play the first 3 drives, had a punt and 2 turnovers. So I believe you should lean to the points in this one. Ohio's going to be in a favorable situation with a better quarterback here going into the game than they normally have had all year now that Wyndham's healthy. Just take the points in this one.
Yeah, I've always liked Ohio. I think they're a great team. They show a lot of grit, a lot of heart, and they always come to play. So that's why I love watching them so much. Okay, Donnie, let's kind of jump off the games here just a minute, and let's just talk about the overall bowl picture. Why is college football bowl betting so tough for handicappers and just the general bettors?
The reason it is because the kids have a long time off. What that does is coaches are going to be moving around, as you've already seen multiple head coaching changes, D coordinators, offensive coordinators leaving. You also see with like the Minnesota scandal, players get suspended out of nowhere, and a lot of the times this is all still kept under wraps. Obviously, you're hearing about the Minnesota one because it's lingered all year and finally, came to a firehead this weekend with 10 players getting suspended. These kids have been suspended on and off all year long, but sometimes you'll see, he's not going to play the first quarter because he did something stupid or he didn't go to class or he didn't pass his midterm the way we would like it. It's hard because motivation is always the factor. You're taking a small conference team playing a larger conference team. You're taking 2 small conference teams just happy to be there. You're taking one larger conference team who's like, why are we playing Northwest Directional State? We should have gotten a bigger bowl game. Motivation is the hardest thing to cap, not only in college football, Tony, but in sports general and alike.
Right. I absolutely agree with you. I just never liked the time off in between. I know it takes time to put this stuff together and rankings, and you got to allow the teams, time to practice and prepare for the team in the big game that they're going up against. But, I think that time off just, it takes people it takes teams out of their groove when they're really clicking, and then you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, just look at some of the games like Maryland and Boston College. Are both those teams like foaming at the mouth to play each other? Vanderbilt, NC State, Army, North Texas. I mean, if they're games that, of course, the kids want to play hard, but it's not like you wake up and it's like, all right, USC is playing Penn State. Both of these teams are going to show up on the field. That's why it's so hard to bet these games. Eastern Michigan, Old Dominion, they're playing in the Bahamas. Whose mind is right and whose mind is where?
Right, absolutely. All right, well, we'd be remiss if we didn't at least touch base on the Final Four. We've got, of course, Ohio State at Clemson and Washington, Alabama. I think these are going to be some really great games this year. Do you think, Donnie, Washington can give Alabama a run for the money there?
I think they can give them a run for the money. Nobody's beating Alabama this year outright in a football game. The reason I really like Washington is a very good defense with an extremely good secondary. That can give Alabama problems.
Right.
The one thing I love about Washington versus Alabama, you can't beat Alabama's defense. But if you draw up a game plan with Chris Peterson and you have a quarterback, running game, wide receivers, and offensive line like Washington does, you're always going to be in the football game. When you watch when you watch Alabama in the SEC, it's the same story every week. Offenses like that are from the Stone Age, like LSU, and Florida, you can't go up against Alabama and just say, well, let's hope we make a play here or there. That's when you get blown out. If you have an offensive scheme with an accurate quarterback that gets the ball out on his 3-step drop, 5-step drop right on time, like Washington does with Browning, they're going to be a good football team and they're going to hang around. Do I think Alabama's going to beat them 51-10? No, but I don't see, 21-20 nail biter in this one. So, I mean, if you're looking
Right.
at the points over 2 touchdowns, Peterson's a good coach. You've seen him in the past, Tony, when he brought his Boise State teams against teams like Oklahoma. He
Yeah.
gets lesser talent to play better than anybody in the country. They'll be in this one.
Yeah, definitely a good coach. The spread's at 14.5 right now. Boy, if just, looking ahead, I think if I was going to jump on a game real quick, that 14.5 is pretty enticing, don't you think, Donnie?
It is pretty enticing. And again, it's down from 16.5. So what you're hoping for if you're a Washington bettor is that, most people, most square public, they open up the paper, so to speak, on the day of the game and say, oh, man, I'm going to take this team. So you might get some movement back, but it is a big number to look at. I think that number is going to probably finish up somewhere around that 15 range. I think the really cherry number of 16.5 is going to be gone from here on out, but you never know. I don't see that number. If that number slips under 14, then you're going to have to reevaluate the situation altogether. But I think Washington can play with them within 2 touchdowns.
Well, Chris says Ohio State beats Alabama with third-string quarterback. I don't see why Washington would struggle. So that's a good point, Chris. And then we have, of course, the Ohio State-Clemson game. Now, this is one of the games. Donnie and I have talked a little bit about this, and we tend to disagree on this game slightly. And I think, personally, if I had to predict a score right here, I say Ohio State 30, Clemson 23. What do you say, Donnie?
I like where your head's at in that situation, because both of these teams, both of these coaching staffs, both of these quarterbacks, there's no deer in the headlight in this one. They've been there, done that. They've been in the big games. And I just think that Clemson has a little bit more overall firepower than Ohio State. But it's very hard to give Urban Meyer a full 30 days and say, come up with a game plan that, you can come beat him with. I mean, him and Nick Saban, when you give them more than 2 weeks, it's really an unfair advantage. I just think that Deshaun Watson's going to show up really big in this game. You have some big-time wideouts for Clemson. Both teams have a good defense. I think Clemson myself is going to win this one in a close one in that 28-27, 31-30 type range. So if I'm going to get 3, I'm going to buy that game to 3.5, or some of the outlets out there are showing 3.5 right now. I think the 3.5 is a smart play there, because when it all boils down to the end, I think it's going to be a coin flip game. So I would just lean towards taking the points here.
Right. So we're either looking at Ohio State, Alabama, or Clemson, Alabama for our national title game.
It'll be fun, regardless of, Alabama will be there, but those other 2 teams, any one of those 2 teams there, that's a very good final game. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, Lance says, I can't wait for the Bulls to start. We're right there with you, Lance.
Man, it's going already.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So we kick it off tomorrow, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just a couple announcements real quick. You can get to Donnie and pick his brain on the bowl games. You can get to him at DonnieRightside.com and RightSideValuePlays.com, or you can see him at TrendBetters. You can also get my plays at TrendBetting.com. Look for the Rhino. You can message me on Twitter at Tony the Rhino 1, or on Facebook, Tony the Rhino. Little announcement that we have. The tech team at Trend Betting has been diligently working for quite a few months on a new sports app for Trend Betting. You guys are going to, I've seen the app, you're going to love it. It's going to help you with getting up-to-date lines and scores, information. You'll be able to watch LongShots TV right on your phone. A lot of good things that are in this app, and we will be rolling out a beta testing phase on December 22nd with that app. If you are interested in doing that, please get a hold of myself on Facebook at Tony the Rhino. I need some information from you in order to be a beta tester. And then hopefully sometime around during the new year, we'll roll the app out, and hopefully it'll be a great tool for you guys to use. So we're trying to put things together to help you guys pick your games, get lines, get all the information that you need so that we can help you guys be winning bettors. Right, Donnie?
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. Put money in your pocket.
That's right. All right, guys, we won't have any college football play this week since the bowl games are going. Yeah, okay, sorry, we just got a message in there, Donnie. He's the worst. What's up, Tony? Billy Parlay in the building. Bulls, Bulls, Bulls.
Uh-huh.
Right there with you, Billy. All right. Glad you guys could join us tonight. We always have a lot of fun on Long Shots TV, and it's just going to get better. We've got a lot of new things coming up this new year. Can't tell you what they are, but trust me, it's going to be great. So, all right, this is Tony the Rhino for Long Shots TV and Donnie Rightside for Long Shots TV. Get with us, guys, because you don't want to miss these bowl game picks because they're going to put money in your pocket. See us over at trendbetting.com. Thanks a lot to Lucky Lance Williams and folks over at Trend Betting and the marketing team there. Look forward to seeing you next week. And remember to take a shot with Long Shots because we are the game. Even get to